Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with Fonearena.com and this is the Gionee Elife E7, the flagship phone from Gionee, the Chinese manufacturer that recently launched in India. So we've been showing you gaming reviews, benchmarks, but today we are going to see about this phone's camera. Yes, this phone's camera is very capable and we were very intrigued since the start to see how it worked out. So this camera, as you can see from the module itself, it's big and packs a lot of features and packs a good lens and all that. So let's dive into the camera review to find out how the Gionee Elife E7's camera is. So here's the Gionee Elife E7's camera module. What it packs is a 16 megapixel omnivision sensor inside and a big lens. As you can see from the outside, the lens is made by Largan, the Largan M8 as it is called, and has a f2.2 aperture. And the obvious advantage from the big lens here, the big overall camera module, will be that it will have better dynamic range. But we'll test that out and see how it performs. Also accompanying the sensor and the lens is the secondary microphone for video recording, stereo audio, and then you also have the LED flash to light up your subjects in low light. But that's just hardware. There is also the software story here. The software story is, of course, the camera user interface and the algorithms and all that. So let's open the camera and go through the user interface quickly. Now, this is the user interface which you might find a bit familiar to other user interfaces. It's very simple and has very minimal features, which might be good and bad at the same time. But let's go through it first. Now, these on the right are the shutter buttons or the switch mode buttons. For example, this will switch the mode to camera and the photo stills, vice versa. And then you also have the bubble that will take you to the gallery. Over at the left, you have the different icons for settings, and there is the front-facing camera option. The front-facing camera is a whopping 8 megapixel unit with autofocus, and it's easily the best we have ever seen. For example, you can see how clear this camera is. This camera is extremely clear and it takes great pictures. So if you want to take selfies, this might be the phone for you. Moving on to other things, you also have the flash toggles here. Flash toggle basically at the bottom, it can work on or off. That's about it. And then as I told you already, there is the shutter button and all that, and this is the settings. So the settings is a bit different. As you can see from the overall interface here, it's very different. So let's zoom out a little bit and see if we can get a lot of it. So this is the settings panel and has lots of sliders and all that. So let's zoom in a bit closer. Over at the top, you have 5 toggles. The 5 toggles here are for geotagging, adding GPS to your photos, sound, face detection, level meter, and auto scene. So all these are toggles and you can toggle them on or off. And then you have sliders below. This is the megapixel size, this is the white balance, this is the exposure compensation, and the ISO. Pretty normal stuff here. You might find this in all the other cameras. And then you have self timer up to 10 seconds. And then you have the capture mode, which is normal, touch, V sign, and smile. So all these are capture modes. And again, at the bottom, you have the dial, which is very similar to the one of the point and shoot cameras perhaps. You have auto, you have the sports mode, you have the night mode, the HDR, and the panorama. But that's not it. There is also a professional mode that you can switch to. Let's go back to auto and then switch to professional mode, which will take us to this menu, which can show you very similar toggles as before, and then the capture modes, the self timer, and the picture size. But that's about it. That's the only thing that it has in the professional mode, and this is the normal user interface that you get in the settings. It's also just a slide away if you want to take it immediately. So there is no slide to go to the camera album. You have to press the bubble. Well, that aside, let's switch to the video mode, which has different settings. And you can see that the settings here are just professional level settings, not normal. You have anti-shake, which is software based image stabilization, and then you have video quality, which can be set to high, normal, medium, and fine. Fine is 1080p, as you can see from the video here. And then you have scene modes, time duration, white balance, and exposure value, pretty normal. And you can also have geotagging and microphone switched on or off. So that's the video mode. Let's switch back to the photo mode. So there you go. That's the user interface. Very simple and is devoid of any snazzy features. You can always download third-party apps for that, but for a default camera interface, this is perhaps the most minimal interface we have seen on a flagship phone. It is good in some aspects, like for example, it works great, it is fast, it takes great pictures, and then like you don't have any of the useless features that occupy the interface. It's very clean and very minimal. In that way, it's good. But some people do want a lot of modes, like for example, they want to take GIFs, they want to take other things like maybe motion tracking, eraser, and all that. So that all is not in this Gionee Elife E7's camera interface. You have to go to third-party apps for that. But still, we find the minimalism is very advantageous to the casual photographer. You just take the camera out, you take a picture and move out. That's it. So you also have all these other features that come here, you know, the settings which will have the dials and all that. But still, the minimalism is pretty good and you just have to take pictures and go. So now let's talk about the camera performance. We shot several samples in daylight, low light, macro, and even with the HDR mode on, and of course a video sample too. Let's start with daylight. Here are some samples. So as you can see, in daylight, the samples have come out rather really well. We actually are really surprised by this camera's performance. This particular photo, you can see that the colors are excellent and the detail is astounding. In fact, this rivals the best cameras in Android, and it's not that easy to give that much of a praise to a camera. But we did see this on the PC and it does work really well. The camera takes excellent pictures in daylight and the pictures are sharp, they are vibrant, they have the right color, the white balance and all that. We think this is right up there with one of the best Android cameras out there in the market. We will do a comparison though, we will do a comparison with other cameras, like for example the best of the best in the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact maybe, which is really good. So we will have a comparison with that and we will show you how good the Gionee Elife E7 is. Now moving on to other types of photos, we also took a lot of macro shots. This has a f2.2 aperture and has a big lens and big sensor. So we thought the bokeh effect would be good, and guess what? That's exactly how it turned out. Here are some macro samples to show you how the sharpness and the bokeh is. Well, as you saw from the macro samples, the bokeh effect is very good, especially in the keyboard shot and also other shots which have a lot of background. That brings us to the next part, which is HDR. A high dynamic range, as we showed you during the demo, is a mode that is present in the dial here. Now what it does is it takes a normal photo as well as a HDR photo at the same time, which is very good in our opinion. It takes some time, but it takes two photos and stitches them, and if you press the bubble it will take you to the gallery. The gallery will first have the normal shot and then it will have the HDR shot. Now talking of HDR, it does work really well. The implementation on the Gionee Elife E7 is pretty good, and what we think is that this implementation is right up there with very good other cameras, like for example the Lenovo Vibe Z, which has a great HDR mode. This is also really good. We found several samples to be beneficial for the photo, and you can see side by side here the normal ones and the HDR ones in the samples that we are showing you right now. You can see the HDR photo is actually really good, and actually it is not much of an effect, rather than it is better dynamic range in the photo. That's what we are trying to say here with the Gionee Elife E7's camera. So HDR performance, daylight performance and macro, pretty good, pretty damn good we would say. Really good photos. You can check out the full resolution photos from the links below. Now moving on to low light, which is considered the Achilles heel of every smartphone that we have used. The Gionee Elife E7 kind of surprised us there too. It's not the best we have seen, but here are some low light samples to show you how good the Elife E7 was in extremely dark conditions. So let's go ahead and see them. So this was one of the shots that we took in extreme low light. This is probably exactly what it looked in real. Now this is the same shot that was taken in the night mode. The same scene. This is auto and this is night mode, and yeah, it does turn out pretty well. It doesn't have much noise. It has all the details preserved and we think it's great. So we took the same night mode and applied it to a different photo. Again, very good results. So this is how night mode works. We also took a landscape shot, as you saw from the samples before, and it also turned out pretty good. But this is not really the best, but it gives out a really pleasant result with less noise. And if you choose the night mode, which is better in our opinion, you can take better pictures and easily shareable and usable on social media. So there you go, pretty good camera in case of stills. The Gionee Elife E7 is right up there with one of the best we have ever seen. Again, we will be showing you comparisons, but standalone, we think the Elife E7's camera is very good. Moving on to video, this phone can record 1080p video samples at 30 fps. Even though this is powered by the Snapdragon 800 processor, there are no gimmicky additions here, like for example slow motion or 60 fps 1080p video or even 4K. There is nothing like that. It just can record 1080p 30 fps, and here is a video sample to show you how it works. Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with Fonearena.com, and this is a video sample of the Gionee Elife E7. It records at 1080p 30 fps. The anti-shaking mode is on, and you can see that the details are pretty good on this phone. And the anti-shake, which is a software based method, also works pretty well. You can listen to the audio for getting a glimpse of its audio quality here, just panning around some buildings and going into the highlights to see how better the dynamic range is. Seems pretty good. And that's about it. That's the video sample of the Gionee Elife E7 recording at 1080p 30 fps. Thanks for watching. Well, as you saw from the video sample, the audio quality is surprisingly really good. The audio quality is recorded in stereo and it was crystal clear. The voice, my voice, which you heard from the audio, is actually very good. And also the video completely surprised us with the amount of quality and detail it packed. The dynamic range was good as predicted, with the lens being very large. The dynamic range was really good. You can shoot into the sun and still see some details. That's a very good achievement in our opinion. So overall, stills and videos, the Elife E7 has completely surprised us, to be really honest. Very good camera, and possibly one of the best we have seen in Android. But again, we'll show you the comparison soon, so stay tuned to the YouTube channel. And this brings us to the end of the Gionee Elife E7's camera review. So do hit the like button if you like this video, do the subscribe button if you want more videos like these, and thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comment section below.